Les élections législatives ont abouti début juillet à une assemblée unie avec ses alliés. 25, les deux tiers.
There's a very strong risk for the government of a vote of no confidence today. The Social Security Bill is due to be voted on at 3 p.m. this afternoon. If Prime Minister Michel Barnier feels he doesn't have the votes needed in the chamber, he is likely to ram this through Parliament without a vote using a special constitutional power known as 49.3. That will invariably trigger a motion of no confidence from the opposition, and there is a real risk at the moment that the government would be brought down. A lot will hinge on the far right. It could choose to abstain from that vote. That could save the government for now. At the moment, the language coming out of the far right is that it will vote to bring it down. Very hard to tell if the far right's bluffing. There's been a lot of theatrics over the past few days. Markets are worried. Markets are tumbling again today. For the first time ever, French debt is more expensive than Greek debt. Greece, long perceived as one of the weakest economies in the European Union, so that's a real rebuke for France and the state of affairs in the country today. Well, if we get a vote of no confidence today, President Emmanuel Macron has to form a new government. Now, you'll remember that after the elections in the summer, it took him many weeks to form a government. That's because he had to find a prime minister that was acceptable to all parties. So the left proposed names, the far right refused those. The right proposed names, the left refused those. So he will find it incredibly difficult to find another prime minister that is acceptable to Parliament. Parliament gets to vote to approve the prime minister. If he cannot do, we may face a somewhat nuclear scenario where President Macron throws his hands up in the air and says, "I resign. I cannot form a government. I have no option but to step down as president." His main focus has been on trying to find an arrangement with the far right because, quite simply, that is where the numbers are. The left has always said that it will not be able to stomach the kind of spending cuts and tax rises that Michel Barnier has been calling for. However, the far right has also drawn some pretty tough red lines. Already, Michel Barnier has made a pretty hefty concession in scrapping a planned tax on electricity tariffs. I think one of the key sticking points at this time is pensions. The far right has been demanding that pensions be indexed to inflation. That's not something that the government is willing to do, at least not immediately. Pensions are hugely costly in France, and with the budget deficit as it is, Prime Minister Barnier has to find a way of narrowing the gap, and pensions are a key way there. The government has said over the weekend that it will not be blackmailed by the far right. The reality is, though, it needs those votes to get the budget bill over the line.
Madame Le Pen, dans quel état d'esprit vous abordez cet entretien?
Marine Le Pen will be looking ahead to 2027 when France holds its next presidential election. She's in no mood to do President Emmanuel Macron any favours. Interestingly, no elections, no parliamentary elections can be held in France until next summer. There must be a year between parliamentary elections. She needs to be a little bit careful what she wishes for, because in forcing concessions out of the government now, she runs the risk of worsening France's financial situation, in creating an environment in which the fiscal deficit is not brought down to a level that the markets think it needs to be. And when elections are eventually held, and if she does then perform strongly, she may find that she in fact presides over a mess that she has helped worsen.